This is Houston Newsmakers with Cambrell Marshall.
And welcome to Houston Newsmakers, and once again to Congressman Dan Crenshaw, representing the 2nd Congressional District. Good morning to you, Congressman, and congratulations on your win, your re-election, your first as an incumbent. So what did you learn from that experience?
Oh, I mean, your first re-election is the hardest, or at least that's what they say, just because, you haven't had time to establish yourself, I guess would be the reasoning. And the opposing party comes after you, and they did. I mean, as you know, the history of the 2nd District, it wasn't really contested for a long time. But my first election was contested, and this one was too. So, we were just happy it turned out in our favor.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on here with the president, the crisis related to the fight against COVID. There are a lot of issues going on with that. The crisis is not getting any better for any state. All the states except Hawaii have been showing increases, some of them quite dangerous. El Paso's more COVID cases than Dallas and Houston combined. Texas is now #1 in cases in the country, #2 in deaths in the United States. What is Texas doing right, and what's not being done, and what more can be done from your estimation?
I would add that the entire world is seeing this. There is no right way to do this. It's a pandemic. I think we should stop beating ourselves up to an extent with this sort of bias towards extreme action. It is a pandemic, right? The only way to truly stop it is through personal actions. And you're going to base those personal actions based on a probability assessment of what kind of risks you face. So I think Texas has done actually a lot of things right. We've largely accepted this reality. We've said no new lockdowns, but it's okay to say from a government perspective, listen, we recommend you take these actions, right? We recommend you socially distance. We recommend that you maybe don't go to that big party or that big social gathering, especially over the holidays when it's more likely that you will. And so, I know a lot of our local leaders would rather lock us down, but I don't mind that they sent out a large text and say, hey, we recommend that you do these things. I think that's actually about right. And that's because our governor has put a hard line that says we will not lock down. But what he also has done is said, we're going to boost up our healthcare system, right? They're sending medical teams to El Paso, for instance, and they were doing the same thing for Houston when we were going through surges. That's really the best policy that we can do, because lockdowns have proven not to have any benefit. We know that by now because the entire world is seeing spikes. So they don't really have any benefit, and especially no long-term benefit, but they have enormous long-term costs.
And so the goal,
costs.
And the goal is obviously to keep the economy going. I mean, if you don't have the economy, then nothing really works as a result of all that. In the meantime, there's still no stimulus agreement, and people are suffering. And the question is, why can't Congress do something to get this done? I know that there's a lot of finger pointing going on about who's not doing what, but the person who's suffering, they don't really care about that. They don't want to care about one side doesn't like the other, we can't get this done. They want to get something done. Why is it not being done, and why shouldn't everybody in Congress be held accountable for it not getting done?
Yeah, well, in the end, you do have to find the source of the actual problem. I realize that people might not care, but this information matters. So the reality is that there's plenty of bipartisan legislation that we agree on that could pass the House today, and that would get signed into law by the president today. So it's extremely frustrating, right? And some of that includes, hey, you know what, just extending the PPP availability, or even adding money to it, looking at what we can do for our airline workers. There's a lot of things that actually we agree on. The Senate has proposed over and over again over $1 trillion worth of stimulus. Okay, Nancy Pelosi has said over and over again she would rather have nothing than something. And so I kind of reject this whole, like, hey, it's everybody's fault. I'm sorry, I'm just sorry, but that's just not true. Okay, like, we cannot agree to $3.4 trillion of spending. This is an absurdity, and everybody knows it. And we could do focused solutions that would help people right now. And I continue to ask my Democrat colleagues to just agree on that. That's compromise. That is certainly a compromise, right? We are meeting in the middle here. And it's especially urgent now because, like we just talked about, so many states are locking down their businesses. Their small businesses especially, are getting killed, while the big businesses can stay open. This isn't fair to people.
Yeah, well, it's a conundrum of sorts, for sure. And we're counting on those of you who are in position to do something about it to make it happen. Let's talk about the presidential election. Do you recognize Joe Biden as president-elect?
Well, it's not been certified. So
no.
What I do want to see is proof from the Trump campaign about what they're. I mean, these are very bombastic allegations. But the states have not certified it. As soon as that certification happens, we have to accept the outcome of the election, and I would encourage the president to do the same. But this has become a very strange sort of I think approach by many in the media, as if there's no precedent for this, as if I don't have a tweet from Nancy Pelosi back in 2017 saying the election was stolen and it's illegitimate. Nobody cared about it back then, and I find that very strange.
Well,
I just find the double standard to be hopelessly strange. It's extreme.
It's one thing there's one thing to have a tweet about it, and it's another thing to put lawyers all across the country throwing claims of one kind or another to try to, as Mitt Romney said, the president is trying to subvert the will of the people and overturn the election. He then says it's difficult to imagine a worse, more undemocratic action by a sitting American president. That's a little bit different than Nancy Pelosi tweeting.
You're right. It is different. Nancy Pelosi tried to impeach the president. So you're right. She did take much more extreme action. I agree with you there. The reality is that this is not unprecedented, and it's this is an absurd talking point, Gambrell, and I think you know that. There's a lot of precedent for this. Al Gore did not concede for how many days, right? Because they were contesting it, and they're using the legal process to do so. To say that this is subverting our democracy is in itself an extreme statement. Everybody needs to calm down. Like, calm down. This is beyond the pale. To make the extreme statement that our democracy is under threat because somebody has lawyers and they're contesting and they're making allegations and they're bringing that through the court process, which is the right thing to do. Well, that is partisan. That is a partisan statement.
Well, I made
on the other side plenty of times, and we would accept it as such.
I made sure to use that comment from Mitt Romney as opposed to a Democrat. So it's not like you're, fighting.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. They're all saying the same thing.
Okay. Well, I just want to.
The point itself is the same.
I want to raise a flag that was not a Democratic talking point more than anything else. Hey, we've got to. I'm going to continue.
No, it is.
Well, but it's now a Republican talking point as well. Is what you're saying. You say it's extreme.
It's a Mitt Romney talking point, right? I mean, the guy hates the president. He's entitled to his own opinion. But fine, if you want to forget about the partisanship of it, I don't think you can. But the reality of the situation is the same. The Trump campaign needs to provide some evidence. All right, I think everybody's getting a little tired of not seeing the evidence for this vote switching and Dominion vote systems. On the other hand, this hand wringing, the sanctimonious pearl clutching that our democracy is under threat because they're taking their allegations to the court and through the process is absurd.
All right.
It's absurd, Gambrell.
Congressman Crenshaw, that sanctimonious pearl clutching is a phrase I'm going to keep with me all day long. Thank you for that. Sanctimonious pearl clutching. I'm not talking about you. I mean, it's the general demeanor of the entire media and the entire Democratic Party. These are overstatements. These are overstatements. I take your point. I take your point. There are a lot of people who adamantly disagree with you. I got to take a break here right now. We got to come back. We have a Newsmakers Extra we're going to try to get to as well, because we get long-winded, both of us. So we'll come back after break.